Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I have a fun Valentine's Tag bookmark lollipop holder that you can make. I'm using some older stamps from my stash. These are from Stampendous, and I have an Oriental Trading Company gnome that I've had for probably a decade, but I thought that garden set was so cute that I wanted to pull it out and play with it again. Plus, gnomes are really popular right now, and I don't see the point of going out and buying new gnome stamps when I've got ones that I absolutely adore already in my stash. But if you don't and you want to do this project, you can certainly find lots of options available now. I stamped the main gnome on a post-it note and then again on my white tag that I cut out of Neenah cardstock. I like that cardstock for marker blending, but you can use whatever you prefer. Now, because I've got that post-it note over my gnome, I can stamp all the other elements and not worry about messing up my focal point. This tall mushroom was really cute, and I love to stamp off the edge of something because it gives scale and presence to the project, and it just makes it look a lot more, like it has a lot more depth. And I'm filling in with some of these cute little flowers from the Stampendous sets. Now I wanted to sneak another mushroom in there, so I'm stamping the big mushroom again on the edge of a post-it note, and I'm just going to mask off that stem so I can put a few other things in there and not have to worry about stamping into my mushroom. And I thought this little one would go really well with it. It's part of that same set. I'm not sure if it's still available, but I thought they worked really well together. And I wanted to put like a little heart on the stem of the mushroom, kind of like how Sweethearts would carve a heart in a tree bark. I thought that would be kind of cute on the mushroom because I figured that would be gnome size. And there you can see the image all done. Now here is a blending recipe card, and I'll have a photo of this on my blog so you can write down the numbers, or you can at least match up what you have for markers to what I'm using here. So the technique I'm going to use is pretty simple. First of all, I'm just doing a flat color on the background, and if you don't want to do that, you can always use like a sponge or an ink blending brush and your ink pad. That would work just fine. You probably would want to mask off your elements if you do that, but just coloring a flat area with the chisel end of your marker works great. Now for the blending itself, with the recipe card, what you're going to do is you're going to color in the lightest color first, like I'm doing with this lighter red, and I'm leaving a gap because sometimes colors, when you're doing this technique and you're priming the paper with the lightest color, sometimes you'll get kind of like a bleeding out. So I left a little gap there and I put my darkest red, and then I overlapped with my mid red, overlapped the two colors. Now if you need to do more blending, you can go back in with the lightest red. Often you don't need to though, because you've saturated the paper, so just kind of keep that in mind. You can always go over and blend again or repeat the colors if you want to, but do the lightest all over everything, then your dark, then your middle, and the lightest again if you need to. And I'm doing the same thing with the flowers down here and the stem and pretty much all of the elements, but you'll see what colors to use on the blending card. And again, substitute with what you have. These are alcohol markers, so water-based markers would act differently. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're going. I probably would recommend, if you're going to do this with water-based markers, if you have the real brush style, that would work a little bit easier. But you can always use whatever medium you like. Now, I decided I would use some ribbon to embellish this tag, but I'm going to suggest you hold off on putting the ribbon because we're going to want to back that tag, because you can see there how that inker was blending through and you could see all that coloring on the back side and it doesn't look very tidy. And there's also another reason I want you to hold off on the ribbons, and we'll get to that in a second. So go ahead and don't just ignore that ribbon part. And ignore that my stomach just growled if you heard that. It's time for lunch, I think. So I put a couple of holes in here at the top and bottom of the little stem that the gnome was holding, and that way I can insert my lollipop here. But you can see how it kind of makes the tag bend. Well, to prevent that, what I did was I just went in my scrap bin and found a piece of pattern paper or cardstock that would go good, and I cut the tag out again and I adhered it to the back around the edges so it wasn't glued behind where the lollipop's gonna go. And then I put the lollipop back in, and just having that cardstock on the back made it a lot stronger, and it prevented me from seeing the coloring bleed through on the back side. So it served two purposes, and that way after the lollipop is enjoyed, you've got a beautiful bookmark that can be saved. And I think that's really fun for a kid's craft because they love the sweet, but then they actually have a cute bookmark to use. And there you can see the project all finished. I used some gel pen to add some shininess to some of the areas for fun, and that's how I finished it off. Thanks so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Until next time, happy crafting.